Hey everyone, it's Lindsay again. This is my third video about becoming a flight attendant. So like the interview process, applying, once you are a flight attendant, what life is like. So this time I'm only going to answer questions that I got here on YouTube, on my Instagram, and on my Tumblr. And I'll link those below so you can find me and ask me questions wherever. So I'm going to start with YouTube. And I'm just going to read the name and then what the question was, and then I will answer your question. Alright, so the first question comes from Sunny, and he asked, how much do you get paid, and how many years of college would you need to become a flight attendant, how does the schedule work? So he had a couple questions. So we'll start off with how much are you paid. So regional tends to start around 15 or 16 and some change. And it can go up to around 19. International, you get paid around, I think, depending on the airline, around 19 and up. And then as far as the airline, they're the ones that determine when you get a pay raise. Who I'm with, we get a pay raise twice a year. So it's just a little bit, but I mean it starts to add up over time, and the more seniority you have, the better pay you're going to have. So it's better to just stick with the airline so you can get that seniority. He also asked how much college you would need. Now as far as having a degree, you don't need one to become a flight attendant. Some airlines are starting to require that you have one, but most are not going to require one. If you really do just want to get your degree, something in hospitality and tourism is going to be great. Something with foreign language is always going to be great. So something along those lines. Then he also asked, what's the schedule like? There is no real set schedule. You don't like just work during the week or just the weekends. You can work anytime, any holiday, any hour of the day or night. You can be on call. So it's not like a normal job. It's not a set schedule. So just be aware of that whenever you're applying. Anna Marie asked how long I've been a flight attendant. I've been a flight attendant off and on for the past 2 years. Oh, actually technically 3 years now. But I've applied with, I think, over like 10 airlines, and I've had interviews with all of those airlines. So I have quite a bit of experience applying and with interviews. I just haven't been a flight attendant as long as some others. Now, forgive me if I mispronounce your name. I think it's Tao. She asks about emergency landings and what you should bring. The airline will cover all of this if you get to training, so I'm not going to really go into this at all. She asked what 3 items you should bring. You're going to have more than 3 items that you'll need. It'll all be on the plane, or you'll have it with you. It'll be issued to you by your airline. So don't worry about any of that. Emergency landings, they will teach you everything you need to know, and they will give you everything you need to know. Mark asks, what are some good volunteer things you can do that will make you stand out? That's a great question. So for my applications, I love animals. I love dogs and cats specifically. So I worked at the Humane Shelter and a couple different shelters actually in my hometown before. And I also helped with a couple things having to do with like the homeless. Like Caritas is a great one. Anything about like feeding for around the holidays, there are a lot of places where you can get volunteer work feeding like Thanksgiving dinners and Christmas dinners to the homeless and the less fortunate. So you definitely can find some stuff around the holidays. As far as throughout the year, if you like animals, humane shelters are a great place. They love volunteers. Like I said, Caritas, homeless shelters in general always need people to volunteer. Just Google your city and see what volunteer opportunities there are. Big Brothers Big Sisters is another great way to have some volunteer hours, as well as you get to help a kid out and spend some time with a kiddo, so that's a really great option. Thanks for your question. Carl asked or said he has epilepsy and he said that he's a bit shy. Would he still be able to apply? As far as epilepsy go, that's going to vary from airline to airline. I don't see, that might be kind of tricky being on the plane. I don't know how severe it is. It really is case by case, so as long as you're upfront with the airline, let them know what the deal is. Now as far as being a bit shy, that is something that is going to you'll have to work on that, is what I'm trying to say. You can't really be shy on the airplane. You have to talk to people constantly, you're around people constantly, so that's something you need to kind of overcome, is the shyness. Elena said that she's always wanted to be a flight attendant. She went to an interview, she wasn't picked Then she went to a second interview and she wasn't picked, and someone told her it was because of her weight or her teeth. Now teeth, no, that's not going to be it. Weight is only if you can't fit in the jump seat. So if you're trying to strap into the jump seat, as long as you can fit in it, then you're fine. There's no restrictions on weight or height, as long as, you know, you're not like over 7 feet tall. Teeth is never going to be an issue. No one should ever say anything like that to you. And yeah, so I'm sorry that someone said that to you, Elena, because that's not true. Okay, Oliver Plant said he lives in the UK and he'd like to be a flight attendant. He said his hair just goes above his eyes and he's quite nervous they won't let him in. It shouldn't be a problem if you can comb it back, style it back or to the side, that might be better. But as far as like the interview, as long as you're just groomed and it's not just like shaggy, you should be fine. Marley, I think that's how you say it, I'm sorry. Love Marley said, do you think it would be a good idea to do this job while I'm going to college? If it's online, then it shouldn't be a problem. I mean, as long as you have an internet connection, you'll be fine. Taking classes in person is going to probably be a no-no. I am in school, but it's mostly online, so when I do have to have an exam or something, I just work with my professors to go in and take it. But online, definitely you could do that. Going to the campus, I don't think would be a great idea. I have a question from Lucy Lorelei. She said, hey Lindsay, I have a question regarding makeup. I pretty much look like I stepped out of the 1940s, so I always have red lips, neutral eyes with matching red nails. But it's clean. Do you think that's too much? No, that sounds great. That actually sounds perfect. More of a neutral eye, pop of a color on the lip, some nails. That 1940s is probably the best era to look at. It was kind of the beginning of aviation, public aviation, so that was kind of what they go off of still today as far as like uniform goes. She said the other thing is I've only had one job serving the public, which I was good, but it was only one job. Other than that, now she said that she's only had one job serving the public, which is good. She was good at it, but it was only one job. You know, if maybe get some volunteer work under your belt, if you only have the one job. But if you've stayed at that job for many years, that shows that you have some loyalty to the company, which is going to be great. So I would say just go ahead and apply and see what happens. You know, once again, loyalty to a company if you've been there for a while, and you serve the public, so that's what you're doing on the plane, so it sounds about right. Alright, Amanda asked, if you get stationed in a different city, do they help you get into a place to stay, live, or is that at your expense? That's going to be at your expense. They will somewhat help you look for things we have called crash pads, which are like 5, 6, 7 flight attendants live in one place, and there's just beds for each one of you. And they're really cheap, so they're like under $300 a month. And sometimes they're hotel rooms, and so regardless, most airlines will kind of send you a few things on different crash pads, but they're not going to help you find a place. You have to find your own apartment, crash pad, etc. Find your own setup where you're going to live in the new city, and they don't give you, I mean, they don't pay you for moving, so it's at your own expense. That's the thing. Most airlines are always going to say you need to have such and such money saved up for training, not only to live during training, but for after training when you're going to move, because you won't be getting paid for a few weeks after you start the job, so you've got to be prepared for that. Kimberly asked, do you get paid for your deadhead flight? Like if you're in California and they need you in New York City, would you get paid your full pay for the 5 hours? So yes, they'll go over more of this, you know, at training. But you do get paid for deadheading, and you're basically just a passenger. They're the best flights, depending on where you're going from. But I had a deadhead from New York to Miami the other day. Just sat there, didn't do anything. I watched the TV. It was first class. They had me upgraded, so it was nice. And I got paid like full pay for it. So, alright. Alright, well those are all of the questions, the newest questions I've had since my last video. If you have more questions, leave them down below. Go to my Instagram, go to my Tumblr, leave them for me there. If you don't want to leave them publicly, you can ask me, DM me privately. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Thanks for watching.